Welcome to This Week in History. I'm Tyler Boeh, and here's a bunch of stuff that happened this week, but like a long time ago. Here we go. September 28th. On this day in history in 1850, the Navy abolished flogging as a form of punishment. Many years later, the sailors actually asked for it back, saying, "Please, we'll take the beatings. Just get us some better uniforms." What's going on in this picture? These guys look like they were on the way to church, and then they ducked out to a pool party. They got the dress shoes, the tall socks. There's so much socks going on right now. Plus, I don't know how you're expected to take orders from someone when you can see their kneecaps. In 1892, the first nighttime football game was played underneath electric lights. At the time, only white players were allowed on the field, so I'm guessing a lot of the fans were just there to see the lights. I'm not sure the outcome of the game, but I'm pretty sure the real winner is the electric company. In 1924, the first around-the-world flight was completed by 2 U.S. Army planes when they landed back in Seattle. It took the crew 175 days with 74 stops. That's crazy. I'm trying to only book direct flights personally. If something's got more than 2 layovers, no thank you. And they did this flight in single-engine, open cockpit planes. I mean, you think a seat next to the toilet is bad. These guys weren't even technically inside the airplane. In 1850, Mormon leader Brigham Young became the first governor of Utah, and it was a landslide victory, although he could have won by 55 more ballots if all of his wives would have been able to vote. The man had 55 wives and 56 children. I think it's probably a little bit easier to win a local election when the majority of the population is your kin. I think his campaign slogan was "Vote for Dad." In 1974, First Lady Betty Ford underwent a mastectomy to remove breast cancer. Her willingness to be open about this with the American people was so candid and brave. It inspired a greater sense of awareness around the issue of breast cancer and also encouraged women across the country to be more proactive about self-examination. Also, it wasn't the first time that a boob was removed from the White House. September 29th. In 1947, famous jazz musician Dizzy Gillespie gave his first concert at Carnegie Hall. When asked about his experience, he said it was breathtaking. September 30th. On this day in history in 1777, the entire U.S. Congress moved 100 miles west from Philadelphia to York, Pennsylvania to avoid the occupying British Army. To this date, it is the fastest that Congress has ever moved. In 1846, Dr. William Morton performed the first painless tooth extraction with the aid of ether as an anesthetic, and it worked like a charm. While the patient was still in agonizing pain, Dr. Morton was so high he couldn't feel a thing. In 1861, chewing gum tycoon William Wrigley Jr. was born after his mother popped. The nurses promptly took the baby, swaddled him, and stuck him underneath a desk. In 1949, the Berlin Airlift came to an end after America and its allies had delivered 2.3 million tons of food into West Germany despite the Soviet blockade. It was the original Uber Eats. October 1st. In 1908, Henry Ford introduced the Model T with a price tag of $850. It had a 4-cylinder engine that produced 20 horsepower and topped out at about 45 miles per hour. That doesn't seem like much, but it still stacks up pretty good against a modern Nissan Versa. In 1971, Disney World opened in Orlando, Florida. It's known as the happiest place on earth, unless of course you're in a 40-pound costume in the middle of summer. October 2nd. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was named the capital of Italy on this day in 1870. In 1869, after a 9-month-long fast, Mahatma Gandhi was born. In 1897, William Bud Abbott of Abbott and Costello was born. When the doctor was filling out the birth certificate, he asked his mother, "What's the name of the baby that was just born?" And she said, "Who?" He said, "The name of the baby that was just born." And this went on for 35 minutes. In 1959, The Twilight Zone debuted on CBS. It ran for 5 years and 154 episodes, and then mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke, leaving him partially paralyzed. Today, the American people suffer, while the president averages hundreds of strokes per week. October 3rd. In 2003, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was attacked by a tiger while on stage at a show. Finally! In 1863, Abraham Lincoln declared that the last Thursday in the month of November would be recognized as Thanksgiving. This guy helped put an end to slavery, preserve the Union, and established a 4-day holiday weekend. Best president ever. October 4th. In 1881, musician and inventor Edward Laveau patented the player piano. His earlier prototypes weren't player pianos, but they did crush a lot. In 1943, jazz musician Louis Jordan released the single Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby. As it hit #1 on the charts, music fans went crazy, and also English fans went crazy. In 1895, Buster Keaton was born quietly, because he was a silent film star. On this day in history, in 1535, the first English-language translation of the Bible was printed in Zurich, Switzerland. The Swiss-made Bible, folded neatly, contained both the Old and New Testaments, as well as a corkscrew, a tweezers, a tiny scissors, and a small blade. Thank you for watching. That's it for This Week in History. Tune in next week when I'll just be talking about this week because it'll be in the past. No, I'll be talking about all the things that happened on the next week moving forward in the future. Well, it'll be the present when you watch it, but I'll still be talking about the past. So, you get it. You're smart. Thank you.